Let's get started with our afternoon session. Our first speaker this afternoon is Sidney. Sidney has been working all semester or all year on a really, really important topic. It was just yesterday, I think, that Miss Denise was saying, wow, she was talking about this exact same topic, how important parents are within our community, but within Indonesia as a whole, how important fathers are in the family dynamic in for kids' development. So this is Sidney. She says, I will read her words. I would like to thank my family and friends for being here today. I would also like to thank my advisor, Ibu Sandang Maria Magdalena, or did I do that right? Sort of. And all the other teachers who have helped me as well. Her title is Gone But Not Forgotten: Why Fathers Should Be Present for Children's Psychological Development. Give me just a second to get the timer started or get it set up, and I'll tell you when you can start. All right, you can start when ready.
What does it really mean to be a father? In many societies, fatherhood has been reduced to only a single responsibility: providing. From a young age, boys are told that they will one day become the backbone of a household, while girls are often associated with nurturing and caregiving. Within this deeply rooted patriarchal structure, fatherhood is often measured by income rather than involvement. As long as the bills are paid, the duty is considered fulfilled. But I would like to begin with a simple question. Is providing money enough to raise a child? When a father is emotionally absent, the effects are not always immediately visible. Yet over time, it manifests into emotional wounds. In this society, where paternal detachment has been normalized, we must re-examine what fatherhood truly means. Today, I will argue that a father's presence is not optional. It is essential for children's psychological development, and his absence leaves lasting scars. Across Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, most societies are predominantly patriarchal, where traditional beliefs assign men as providers and women as dependents, resulting in a gender hierarchy. These values are enforced through historical, religious, and legal frameworks, such as the 1974 marriage law, which defines gender role within the family. As a result, systems of authority, labor, and decision-making often disadvantage women, leading to ongoing discrimination and inequality. Patriarchy does not only disadvantage women, it also reshapes fatherhood by limiting a father's role to a financial provision. As a result, many fathers remain emotionally distant, limiting their involvement in their children's psychological development. A survey conducted by KPA revealed that 47.1% of fathers spend only about 1 hour per day communicating with their children. These numbers are not just statistics. They represent children growing up feeling distant emotionally, without sufficient guidance, connection, and support. In Indonesia, fatherlessness refers to the psychological absence rather than the physical absence, where even a child who still has a father can be at risk of experiencing fatherlessness. Let me tell you a story about Rafi. Rafi's father has a stable job. He provides financially, gives him things that he wants, such as clothes, shoes, and other things. He is also home quite often, yet Rafi still feels emotionally disconnected, with no conversations or activities with him. This shows that fatherlessness is not solely defined by physical absence, but by the lack of meaningful emotional interaction. Unlike Western contexts, where fatherlessness is often associated with broken families or unmarried parents, in Indonesia, it frequently occurs within intact households. Like a house built without strong pillars, children raised without paternal presence may appear stable on the surface, yet collapse under emotional strain. Similarly, children with a strong paternal presence may struggle to cope with emotional challenges. At the root of this issue is patriarchy, a system that places men in position of authority while assigning women to caregiving roles. In Indonesia, this is reinforced by cultural expectations and the ideology of state ibuism, which frames nurturing as a mother's responsibility while subtly excusing fathers from emotional involvement. Over time, this creates a cycle where emotional distance becomes normalized and fathers pass down the same patterns to the next generation. But raising a child is not just about providing financially. It is about being present, guiding, and nurturing. Yet many still believe that fulfilling their duty means simply earning money. While initiatives such as Gerakan Ayah Teladan aim to promote more active fatherhood, change remains slow due to economic pressures and cultural norms. Ultimately, a father's presence is not optional. It is essential for children's psychological development, and his absence leaves lasting scars for three reasons. First, a father's presence actively fosters emotional and social development. Second, a father's presence enhances behavioral and cognitive development. And third, a father's presence shapes children's identity and self-concept. The first reason fathers must be present in their children's lives is that their presence actively fosters emotional and social development. Studies on paternal involvement, such as Pleck's model, demonstrate that when fathers show warmth, responsiveness, and active engagement through expressions of affection, emotional support, and sensitivity, they help build emotional security. Bowlby's secure attachment theory serves as the foundation for emotional regulation, confidence, and healthy relationships. In other words, when a father is present, not just physically, but emotionally, he becomes a source of stability that helps children face life challenges with confidence. Furthermore, a father's presence strengthens emotional regulation and resilience. Children internalize emotional regulation by observing and interacting. Thus, when fathers model calmness, patience, and control, children internalize these behaviors. Research by Jiangnan University shows that children with emotionally engaged fathers demonstrate stronger coping mechanisms, higher resilience, and better emotional stability. On the other hand, when fathers are emotionally absent, children are left to navigate intense emotions on their own, often leading to feelings of rejection or isolation. In a society where emotional expression is already limited, the father's role becomes even more essential. Aside from that, fathers also contribute uniquely through play and interaction to develop social emotional competence. The activation relationship theory by Daniel Paquette explains that fathers often engage in stimulating physical play that challenges them to step outside their comfort zone in a safe environment. This kind of interaction offers a safe space to explore, learn to handle new situations and challenges, and develop social and emotional competence. Think of it like a training ground. For example, when we were just kids learning how to ride bicycles, our father would guide us while pushing us to be brave, convincing us that we wouldn't fall. This teaches children to be courageous, to face challenges while knowing they are supported from behind. Without it, children may struggle to develop trust, confidence, and interpersonal skills. The second reason is that a father's presence enhances cognitive and behavioral development. A father is not only a provider, but also an active contributor to how children think, learn, and solve problems, which determine their academic success and cognitive growth. The APA Dictionary of Psychology defines cognitive development as the growth and maturation of thinking process of all kinds, including perceiving, remembering, concept formation, problem solving, imagining, and reasoning. Theories such as Piaget's stages of development emphasize that children learn best through active interaction with their environment through play, conversation, and shared activities. As a result, fathers can stimulate curiosity, encourage problem solving, and support intellectual growth. A mother supervises children's homework, and a father increases educational aspirations. A mother communicates more with teachers, but a father promotes a better behavior. Therefore, although maternal participation strongly influences children's language development, learning motivation, and communication skills, active paternal participation also significantly influences children's cognitive growth, improving problem-solving skills, risk-taking, independence, curiosity, and sustained attention. In addition, a father's presence plays a critical role in shaping discipline, self-control, and responsibility. Indonesian research conducted in Malang shows that children who experience low father engagement are more impulsive, emotionally unstable, and struggle to follow rules, which are all signs of poor self-control. In contrast, regularly involved fathers can provide children with moral support and inspire them to take responsibility of their own actions, and discipline helps them grow a better character. Within Indonesia's patriarchal structure, fathers are often seen as authority figures, yet authority alone isn't enough. When discipline is not accompanied by emotional connection, it can create fear rather than understanding, and obedience rather than true character. Finally, a father's presence acts as a protective factor against behavioral risks and social deviance. Data from the even longitudinal study of parents and children revealed that emotional absence increases aggression, delinquent behaviors, including substance abuse, violence, and early sexual activity. This reflects the absence of paternal guidance in modeling discipline, emotional control, and conflict resolutions, because children struggle to manage frustration and internalize behavioral boundaries. Fathers provide not only supervision, but also a model for behavior, especially in societies like Indonesia, where fathers are seen as authority figures. When this role is absent, children often turn to peers or external influences, which may not always be positive. The third reason is that the father's presence shapes children's identity and self-concept. Fathers serve as primary role models to strengthen a child's gender identity through exposing them to gender-related behaviors, expectations, and boundaries, which help them shape a stable and clear sense of self. Just as our identity is shaped by looking into a mirror, a father acts as a mirror, so that as children see it, they replicate it. The mirror becomes the model. Boys often imitate their father's behaviors, attitudes, and values, while girls develop understanding of male behavior and relationships through their fathers. Research done in Bengkulu and the University of Nottingham both show that emotionally absent fathers often leave children with weaker confidence and clarity in their identity. Boys may struggle with a positive male role model, while girls may develop unhealthy perceptions of masculinity and relationships. Their absence may internalize feelings of inadequacy or incompleteness in the development of their identities. Beyond identity formation, a father's presence also instills moral intelligence. Research emphasized that children who admire their fathers more easily understand moral concepts and apply them in their everyday life, which aligns with the social learning theory that believes that children mimic important actions from important people in their lives, such as fathers. Fathers who model compassion, ethical decision-making, and accountability help children internalize strong moral values and apply them in their daily life. Studies further demonstrate that active paternal involvement improves children's moral intelligence, which includes their problem-solving approach. Through imitation, modeling, and identification, children internalize their father's behavioral frameworks, enabling moral discernment and ethical self-regulation. This proves that fathers exert a pivotal influence on moral development, equipping children with ethical standards and behavioral accountability. Lastly, a father's presence promotes self-esteem and self-worth. Children develop their self-concept through relationships with important figures in their lives, and fathers plays a major role in helping children feel valued, loved, and capable. A dissertation study by Walden University shows that emotionally close father-child relationship significantly increases confidence, self-worth, and emotional security. On the other hand, children who grow up without paternal involvement often experience feelings of rejection and diminished self-worth that extend into adulthood. Even in difficult family situations, fathers who remain emotionally present significantly elevate children's self-esteem by reinforcing emotional security and belonging. A father's emotional support acts like a guiding light during difficult times, reminding us that they are worthy and always important. So when we look at the evidences, the conclusion becomes undeniable. A father's presence is a fundamental necessity, and that is why the role of a father must be understood not only as a provider, but as an active, irreplaceable force in shaping a child's life. Some may argue that children can thrive without a father because of the strength and dedication of single mothers. Research does show that many children raised by single mothers develop independence, confidence, and resilience, and also acknowledge that single mothers can provide extraordinary emotional and financial support. However, this does not mean that a father's role is replaceable. Studies consistently show that children without involved fathers are more vulnerable to emotional distress, academic difficulties, and behavioral problems. Even within Indonesia, higher rates of school dropout and emotional instability are observed among children without active paternal involvement. It takes two parents to raise a child. Even Jesus needed a Joseph in his life. Therefore, while maternal care is powerful and essential, it cannot fully substitute the unique emotional, behavioral, and identity-forming roles that fathers contribute. Another argument suggests that children are naturally resilient and will adapt to a father's absence. Many children indeed develop coping mechanisms through strong maternal bonds or peer support, and some even achieve similar academic outcomes. But we must ask ourselves, does adaptation mean optimal development? Just because a child survives does not mean they thrive. Research within Indonesia highlights that fathers play critical roles not only as providers but as moral guides, authority figures, and role models who shape identity, confidence, and social competence. Children who receive consistent emotional support from their fathers show lower anxiety, stronger self-esteem, and healthier coping strategies. So while children may adapt and while mothers may compensate, we cannot conclude that a father's presence is optional. To do so would be like praising a tree for surviving while ignoring the missing roots that should have helped it grow stronger. If we accept absence as normal simply because children can endure it, we risk lowering the standard of what children truly deserve. Not just survival, but the opportunity to fully develop into emotionally secure and capable individuals. Throughout this paper, we have seen that a father's presence is not optional. It is essential to a child's psychological development. Paternal involvement builds emotional and behavioral development, supports cognitive growth and academic success, and shapes gender identity and self-concept. These findings make one thing clear. A father's role goes far beyond financial provision. The evidence shows that children need more than material support. They need consistent presence, guidance, and connection. Without these, many struggle with emotional and behavioral challenges. Money may support a child's life, but it is presence that shapes who that child becomes. In the end, children will not remember how much their fathers earn, but they will always remember whether their fathers were truly there. They remember the time, the support, the reassurance during difficult moments. Therefore, fathers must redefine their role not only as providers, but as active participants, because the greatest investment a father can make is not financial, but the emotional and psychological well-being of a child. Fathers do not shape children simply by what they provide. They provide what children need by helping shape who they become. Fathers, you are not optional. You never were. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sidney. Good job. Our panelists for this thesis are Mr. Zoran and Mr. Ricky, who's been working with our school board lately. We'll start with Mr. Zoran, and then we'll go to Mr. Ricky.
Hello, Sidney.
Yes, sir.
First of all, well, I must applaud you first for making a professional paper, and also personal for me, yeah, because I grew up fatherless. So I stand by every word here. You're speaking my experience as well. So I have nothing against you. Okay? Yeah. But I'd like to dig deeper with your arguments. Maybe you have some insights and ingots that you studied, but you didn't put it here.
Okay.
And I wish to learn more from you, okay? Number one, it goes with patriarchal societies. I noticed that in the argument you put a great deal about patriarchal issues, right? I was wondering about your stance. Do you consider patriarchal system as something that is inherently flawed? If not, why? If yes, why?
Okay, thank you for your question, Mr. Dorian. No, I don't oppose anything towards patriarchy. And I'm not saying that it's flawed, but I truly believe that patriarchy is a good system and it has been adopted ever since, like in the Bible, like male and female, their roles have been distinct, right? And that's why I don't oppose patriarchy at all. But what I mean here is patriarchy has been redefined and it shifted from the concept where, yes, father should provide, but I think right now it shifted and they miss that fathers should not only provide financially, but they should be involved in their children's life. So no, I don't oppose it, and I think patriarchy is not flawed, but it just has been shifted towards a different mindset and belief.
Yeah, we can say in history there's the healthy ones and
Yeah.
there's the unhealthy ones, right?
Yes.
Yeah. My question then go to the one your argument. Yeah, you know we're all Christians, right? We believe in the Trinity.
Yes.
God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Why do you think Christianity offers a more holistic, say, theological frame to help fatherless people or fatherless generations? Why?
I think our earthly father represents our God the Father, right? So ideally, it was supposed earthly fathers should represent the characteristics and love of the God the Father. However, we all know that reality doesn't always follow the sweet stuff, but that's why I think that. Sorry, Mr. Can you repeat the question?
In what way Christianity, with the Trinitarian system or framework, help counsel fatherless generations, fatherless people?
Oh, okay. So for fatherless people, I think that God the Father will fill that empty gap in their hearts, because even though they don't have the earthly father that they deserve, but I believe that there is still God the Father who would never leave us and will give us hope, even though our earthly fathers isn't there.
Yeah, I think you're answering correctly. Yeah, I mean, if we just call God, he's just like some big boss above, right? But if we call him Father, well, that's another thing. So thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Now, my next question actually go with the social media. Yeah. So, you know, I grew up fatherless, right? And so I have to put up like other individuals as my father figures, right?
Yeah.
As a way to like make up for the loss. And turns out that I just know a term for it. It's something called parasocial paternalism. So parasocial means that you connect with someone that is not actually not close, like connecting with someone online, connecting with someone on social media, and then you put them as father figures. And turns out it's kind of like a big thing in Indonesia. I think you know ya, apa KDM, yeah. Remember his motto, Bapak Aing gitu ya.
Oh, okay.
Basically, people refer to him as father, right? Even if he's actually not their fathers. So, what do you think about this social media, this internet thing? I mean, back then, I don't have any of that. I gotta put up with my uncles, and honestly, they're not even good father figures. I must say, I don't grow up in a way that I'm expecting myself. But then, if I see these generations, there's so many names, right? There's Jordan Peterson, maybe Professor Jiang, or maybe, I don't know, some influencer, or maybe even KDM, yeah? So, what do you think about that conundrum?
I think for social media, we should like put a clear line where social media become beneficial for us as to make those influencers as a father figure, quote unquote, because not everyone in the media is quote unquote real, right? And I think you should put a clear line on where you put trust on it, because like we all know the dangers of social media. But if talking about social media, maybe those father figure in social media could be, like pastors who are active in social media. I think that could be one of them. But other people rather than pastors, maybe, yeah, you should check on it first, because I think if you if you look up someone in social media as your father figure, but it turns out he isn't a good figure, like it could really damage yourself.
Okay, thank you. Now, from your answer, you mentioned about pastors, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that goes to my next question. Yeah, why do you think churches or schools make up for the missing father figures in one way that they provide some, say, some balm to the pain? Churches or school, what do you think about it?
I think like churches and school both. I believe that if you find a good community in church and school, they could support you in a way that, yeah, to fill the gaps that is missing. And I think that is why it is important to have a good community, because even though internal factors such as the family affect you as well, I believe that external factors such as your friends, other friend groups, churches also influence your life. So I think it's really important to have a positive community.
Okay, yes, positive community. Yeah. Now I do have two more questions before I pass it out to Pak Ricky here. Yeah, and my next question had to do with one of your refutatio. Yeah, you mentioned that in the last few pages. Let me read it verbatim, if you don't mind. Um, Indeed, economic inequality, long working hours, and labor exploitation severely constrain paternal availability, right? Um, and so I kind of like see that's a feature of modern society. The fathers are working, and not just that, the mothers are also working, right? And I must say, you can't blame them, right? They gotta work to fight
Yes.
for the money, right? And as like what Chika mentioned before, we have inflation, right? We have what monetary problems. So do you think that capitalism is to be blamed for this fatherlessness, or is it something else? What do you think that makes this society as crooked as it is?
I think like talking about the case where fathers should work very long hours. In the end, fathers should fulfill their responsibility, the base responsibility to provide for the family. So I think like for those who work long hours or like overseas, it's something that uh, we should consider too, because I feel like if that's the case, the father should really make an agreement with the family at home. Like, for example, working overseas, maybe fathers could spare their time for a moment just to communicate and bond with the children, even though it's just virtually. But I think even though like video calls and just bonding with each other, even in a very different city, I think it still helps though, even though they're not physically there. But if they could spare just maybe quite some time of his time just to talk through video call and like other virtual ways, I think like it will be very beneficial for the children.
Okay, thank you. Oh, my last question is going to be very brief and very opinionated. I grew up fatherless. I'm glad that I turned out fine. I didn't break stuff. I didn't mess up stuff. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure among this audience, we have also fatherless individuals whom I don't know. But I'm pretty sure I think there's some among them. What do you want to say to them? Not to me, but to them, to your audience. Where should they go? Who should they look up to? Yeah, that's all.
I think like in the end, even though like quote unquote physically they're lacking like in terms of dynamic family, but in the end they still have hope, because yeah, God the Father will always be there. Like even though our earthly fathers wouldn't be there for us forever, but like it has been proven that our God the Father will never leave us.
All right,
Thank you,
thank
Mr.
you. Mr. Ricky.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Okay, what a very interesting thesis,
Thank you.
Sydney. Okay, I want to ask from your thesis, you mentioned on page 2 that Indonesia is ranked in third position as fatherless country.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder which countries hold the first and second in fatherless.
If I'm mistaken, the first was like USA, but the second, I don't know. I don't really find for the second one, but if I'm mistaken, the first one is USA. The second, I don't know.
Okay. I want to tell that after I've read the sentence, I've done some small research, googling and etc. You cited from the journal made by Fibriani and Iswinarti, and they cited the survey, not mentioning the formal research. So I think this is not valid enough.
Okay.
Maybe you can try to search the formal survey or
Thank you,
something
Mr.
else. Okay. Okay. Second, Indonesia is consists of rural and urban areas. In your opinion, where is the rate of fatherlessness higher, and what do you think the factor causing that?
I think like you're talking about social class here.
Desa and kota.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
okay. I think like the place, like geographical place, in the end, it can happen anywhere, because, for example, in rural areas, most likely they'll have a lower social class, right? But even in big cities, where most likely they will have a higher social class than the urban areas, I think that it goes back again to the family itself. Like it does. I mean, like of course, economic pressures and social class will have some effects, but I do believe that in the end it goes back to the family again. Because, for example, in rural areas, they might be fatherless because, yeah, the father works overseas or working 12 hours a day without even seeing the children. Or in higher class in big cities, the father could be very busy with work and meeting this, meeting that, and making networks and centering on money rather than family. So it can happen in both areas.
Okay, nice. So based on the economic, in your opinion, if you were to advise the Indonesia government, give me one concrete policy to reduce fatherlessness, and what would it be and why?
So I think one of the implementation that the government can do to reduce this fatherlessness case is maybe they could implement it in schools, where schools should help and make it should have like a parenting class or like classes that is specified for parents just to learn on this issue. Or it could also be in churches. But I think, as of my knowledge, I think if you want to get married in church, you already have to take parenting classes, right? If I'm mistaken. So I think that's already a good way to.
A class that teach all fathers, right?
Yes.
Okay, next. Your conclusion calls on fathers to redefine what it means to fulfill their role. What specific practical steps do you think fathers in Indonesia can take today, given the cultural and economic pressures they face?
So I think I believe that to be a good father, you should first be a good husband. So first of all, of course, the step is to acknowledge the child and spare some time to spend with them, because like time can be used as a tool to build a healthy and close emotional connection between children and father. And to have that healthy connection, it should start with the base of trust of the children, of the child to the father. So I think you should start with starting to spend more time with the children and making the best of the time with the children, like making a really close emotional connection.
Okay, thank you. An honest answer from you, Sydney. Uh, Let me summarize. I think that's enough from me. You have a good thesis. You emphasize the importance of father's presence in the child's emotional development. Even though a father is breadwinner, you mentioned that it doesn't negate the fact that providing time, emotional support, and presence are also inseparable responsibilities as a father.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky. A couple of questions that have come up in various places. Obviously, there are there are fathers who can be abusive, right? And so the question is, how do you would you rather have a father that's present but abusive or absent? Which one is best?
I think like for the case of abuse, of course, fathers who are abusive need help because, like, if they're abusive to their mother, like the children will sense something wrong and they wouldn't fully develop, right? And if I can choose to have an abusive father or having no father at all, I think both isn't something that it's not like a good option to choose. So I feel like in the end, this is why I am writing this thesis to embrace the father's duty to go back to the characteristics and love of the God the Father, because their standards of love to their children should be the characteristics of God.
Okay, good. And so someone else is asking, how do you really define a father's presence, right? Because it's not really clear. What does it mean to be present?
So what it means to be present is to be there physically, emotionally, and involved. And by involved, being having accessibility to the children, connection with the children, and responsibility to the children. So being there physically is not enough, but they should be connecting with the children emotionally, responsible for the family and the children, and they have access to be with the children.
And so what if you had this scenario? You've got a family. The father has this opportunity to make 4 times as much money as he's making now, but it requires him to move to another place, be away from the family, work strange hours and those kinds of things. What would you suggest to that family? Should he take that job because of the extra income, or should he actually, in a sense, take a huge pay cut to stay near the family?
Okay, so I think like in that case, it should be considered really well, and both the parents should really like think about the after effects of it, because being far away from your children, it will definitely affect the children. But I think in the end, it should be an agreement though. Like you cannot take the decision by yourself, but you should have an agreement and consideration whether to take the job far away or not with your wife, and also with the children as well. Because I feel like you should be open with their children's opinion too.
Okay. But would you agree that a father may have to make some sacrifices in order to be a present father?
Yes, I think like in the end, fathers are also human, right? Because and in the end, like sacrifices also needed, because their role is to provide financially too. That's like the foundation of it. So it goes back to what sacrifices it is.
Okay. And then someone else is asking, what's better in your opinion? Not that either one is good, but what's better, either fatherlessness or motherlessness?
Like, should I choose?
That's what one of your peers has asked.
I mean, I feel like that's not something you could choose because both really do have a big effect, right? Yeah.
Okay, I think time is up. Good job, Sidney.
Thank you, Mr.
All right. So, friends, family, advisors, panelists, let's meet over here at the poster for a photo.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, and then the next thesis starts at.
Thank you, Mr.